Hey there, church. So we are all creatures of habit, right? Well, 20 years ago, back when I was a younger man, I had a habit of running early in the morning through my neighborhood. And the habit was so ingrained that I would pass the same houses at roughly the same time every day and see people coming out with their habits, getting their newspaper or just getting the snow off their cars to go to work. I had other people that I would pass on my run going at roughly the same place and roughly the same time. Well, now my running habit through a neighborhood has been exchanged for a dog walking habit through my neighborhood. And I experience something of the same. I see other people walking their dogs. I walk past a counseling agency, where people receive therapy. And I can tell you on which days of the week certain cars, who presumably belong to the therapists, will be there in the parking lot. I pass the police department. I can tell you what kinds of cars our Chesterland police officers drive because there they are on the lot. I can tell you which dogs bark at which homes when Strider and I walk by. This is something of a relationship with neighbors that I've developed. And I'm becoming more and more conscious that I am a neighbor in the midst of neighbors. And more as I walk down 306 and cars are driving past, and I walk through neighborhoods and people are living inside the homes that I pass, I wonder, what's really going on with people's lives? Where do they feel incredibly blessed, but really don't have an opportunity to let that out or to give their blessings away? Where do people feel really hurt or lonely and isolated and don't really know what to do with that? Where is their financial struggle or emotional struggle or whatever? And what do folks do with that? And surely there are people just waving to one of the cars that I pretty much always see this time of the day because they're taking a kid to school. What I'm getting at is that we are all people who are neighbors to neighbors. And that brings us to the day of prayer that's happening this weekend, where we are going to pray for 24 hours together as a church. We'll pray in our homes with a prayer guide that's attached with this e-update. And the central question of the prayer time is, who is my neighbor? We will get into Psalms, we will get into some set prayers, we'll get into one of Jesus' most famous stories that was prompted by someone who asked, okay, so who is my neighbor? On the day of Pentecost, God sent the Holy Spirit upon the church. And when the Spirit was poured out, people all over Jerusalem came running, and they heard in their own native languages. And these were people who were in Jerusalem from the four cardinal compass points all around Jerusalem, travelers in for the Pentecost festival. And what this tells us is that the Spirit comes in order that the message of Jesus and the power of Jesus can go out into people's lives to the ends of the earth. The Spirit is sent by God in order to send the church out into its place and even beyond what the church might think of as its place. And that's why we're praying for our neighbors and asking who is our neighbor, and asking God to make us a church that more and more listens to the lives of our neighbors and wants to draw close to them in their struggle, in their hope, in how all of us as human beings long essentially for the same basic things. So if you haven't yet signed up for the day of prayer, I encourage you to do so. You can do so with this e-update. Even if there isn't a spot that's untaken that works for you, go ahead and just pray. It is perfectly fine to double up. That's twice the prayer power happening in that period of time. And then after worship on Sunday, we're going to have a training session for how we're going to go into our community and listen to especially folks who have some leadership or maybe some influence in our community about what they hear about the community's needs and wants and desires and changes and the good things happening in the community, so we can understand our neighborhood better and therefore be empowered by God to love our neighborhood better. So let's be the neighbors that God is making us to be in Jesus by the power of the Holy Spirit, loving God, sharing relationships, serving others from the heart of Christ.